Satsuma Rebellion. The Satsuma Rebellion, also known as the Seinen War, was a revolt by disaffected samurai against the new imperial government of Japan during the Meiji era. It was centered around the Satsuma domain, which had played a role in the restoration and became a home for unemployed samurai. The rebellion lasted from January 29 to September 24, 1877, and ended with the defeat of its leader, Sego Takamori. This rebellion marked the last and most significant of a series of uprisings against the new government, leading to costly monetary reforms and the demise of the samurai class. It also marked the transition to modern warfare and was the final civil war in Japan's history. The Satsuma Rebellion, despite Satsuma's significant role in the Meiji Restoration and the Boshin War, emerged due to growing dissatisfaction with the direction of the new Meiji government. The rapid modernization of Japan led to the decline of the samurai class, eroding their social status and finances. Many samurai felt that these changes betrayed the original goal of expelling foreign influence used to overthrow the Tokugawa shogunate. Sego Takamori, a prominent Satsuma leader in the Meiji government, initially supported reforms but became concerned about political corruption. He advocated for a war with Korea in 1873 and even offered to provoke a casus belli by risking his life visiting Korea. When this plan was rejected, Sego resigned from his government positions, triggering the return of many Satsuma ex-samurai to Kagoshima. To support these individuals, Sego established the Shirgakko, a private academy, in 1874, which included academic and military training. This academy, along with other paramilitary political organizations, gained support from the Satsuma governor, effectively leading to Satsuma's separation from the central government by the end of 1876. In 1873, Japan implemented a conscription law that divided the country into 6 military districts. Conscripts were chosen by lot and served for 7 years, with 3 years of active duty and 4 years in the reserve. In 1871, the imperial government established the Rizatsu, a police force that grew from 3,000 to 18,000 members by 1877. These policemen were militarized and actively participated in the rebellion. Throughout the conflict, the government forces used an average of 322,000 rounds of ammunition and 1,000 artillery shells per day. Sego's rebel forces in 1877 were only partially modernized. They had an improvised organization consisting of 6 infantry battalions, each with 2,000 men and 10 companies of 200 men per battalion. The rebel army lacked significant cavalry, and they had only 200 gunners to operate the 28 mountain guns, 2 field guns, and 30 mortar pieces they had gathered. In response to Sego's academies and growing unrest among Satsuma samurai, the Meiji government in Tokyo became increasingly concerned. They had recently dealt with small but violent samurai revolts in Kyushu, and the prospect of rebellion by the numerous and formidable Satsuma samurai, led by the popular Sego, alarmed them. In December 1876, the government sent Nakahara Hisawa and 57 others to investigate subversive activities and unrest, but they were captured, tortured, and forced to confess that they were sent to assassinate Sego. Although Nakahara later recanted the confession, it was widely believed in Satsuma and became a justification for the disaffected samurai to rebel. To prevent a rebellion, the Meiji government sent a warship to Kagoshima to seize weapons stockpiled at the Kagoshima arsenal in January 1877. This, along with the elimination of samurai rice stipends, led to open conflict. Students from Sego's academy attacked arsenals and took weapons, leading to more than 1,000 students staging raids on naval yards and arsenals over the next 3 days. Sego, reluctantly persuaded, came out of semi-retirement to lead the rebellion. In February 1877, the government dispatched officials to assess the situation, and a confrontation occurred when armed men attempted to board the warship Takao. The government decided to send the Imperial Japanese Army to Kagoshima to prevent the revolt from spreading further. Sego announced his intention to march to Tokyo to question the government but made no efforts to seek support from other domains. Facing adverse weather conditions, his army interpreted the deep snowfall as a sign of divine support, similar to the weather during the Meiji Restoration 9 years earlier. The Satsuma vanguard entered Kumamoto Prefecture on February 14. The Kumamoto Castle, commanded by Major General Tani Tateki, had around 3,800 soldiers and 600 policemen. To prevent potential desertions or defections, Tani opted for a defensive stance. On February 19, the first shots were fired as Kumamoto Castle's defenders repelled Satsuma units attempting to breach the castle. Despite Kumamoto Castle's strength, Sego believed his forces could overcome Tani's conscripts, who were still demoralized from the recent Shinpuran rebellion. On February 22, the main Satsuma army arrived and attacked Kumamoto Castle from two sides. The battle continued into the night, with some success for the Satsuma forces, but they couldn't capture the castle. They then settled into a siege, realizing that the conscript army was more effective than initially thought. As the siege continued, Kumamoto ex-samurai joined Sego's forces, increasing his army to around 20,000 men. Meanwhile, on March 9, Sego, Kurino, and Shinohara were stripped of their court ranks and titles. On April 8, a sortie from Kumamoto Castle broke through the Satsuma lines, allowing crucial supplies to reach the garrison. The main imperial army, led by General Kuroda Kiyotaka and supported by General Yamakawa Hiroshi, arrived in Kumamoto on April 12, causing the outnumbered Satsuma forces to retreat. On March 4, General Yamagata of the Imperial Army ordered a frontal assault on Tabaruzaka, a stronghold guarding the approaches to Kumamoto. This battle lasted for 8 days and pitted some 15,000 samurai from Satsuma, Kumamoto, and Hitoyoshi against the Imperial Army's 9th Infantry Brigade, consisting of around 9,000 men. During the battle, Sego privately wrote a letter to Prince Arisugawa, reiterating his reasons for heading to Tokyo and expressing a desire for a peaceful settlement. However, the government declined negotiations. To isolate Sego from his base, an imperial force, including 3 warships, 500 policemen, and several infantry companies, landed in Kagoshima on March 8. They seized arsenals and detained Satsuma's governor. Additionally, Yamagata's detachment with 2 infantry brigades and 1,200 policemen landed behind the rebel lines, aiming to attack them from the rear via Yatsushiro Bay. Imperial forces landed with minimal losses, captured the city of Miyanohara on March 19, and, with reinforcements, engaged and pushed back the rear elements of the Satsuma army. The Battle of Tabaruzaka was one of the most intense campaigns of the war, resulting in heavy casualties on both sides, with each suffering over 4,000 killed or wounded. After the unsuccessful attempt to capture Kumamoto, Sego and his followers marched for 7 days to reach Hitoyoshi. With low morale and no clear strategy, they dug in while waiting for the next Imperial Army offensive. The Imperial Army, too, was depleted, and fighting was paused for several weeks to allow for reinforcements. When the offensive resumed, Sego retreated to Miyazaki, leaving pockets of samurai in the hills to conduct guerrilla attacks. On July 24, the Imperial Army forced Sego out of Miyakanojo, followed by Nobeoka. Troops were landed at Oita and Seiki to the north of Sego's army, effectively surrounding them. However, the Satsuma forces managed to break free from the encirclement. By August 17, the Satsuma army had dwindled to 3,000 combatants, losing most of their modern firearms and all artillery. The surviving rebels took a stand on Mount Enodake but were soon surrounded. Yamagata sent a large force, outnumbering the Satsuma army 7-1. Most of Sego's remaining forces either surrendered or committed seppuku, a form of ritual suicide. However, on August 19, Sego burned his private papers and army uniform and managed to slip away toward Kagoshima with his remaining 500 men. Despite Yamagata's efforts, Sego and his group reached Kagoshima on September 1 and seized Shiroyama, which overlooked the city. Sego and his remaining samurai were pushed back to Kagoshima, where they faced a final battle known as the Battle of Shiroyama. Imperial Army troops, commanded by General Yamagata Aratamo and Marines under Admiral Kawamura Sumiyoshi, vastly outnumbered Sego's forces by a ratio of 60-1. Yamagata took extensive precautions, constructing elaborate defenses to prevent any breakout attempts. The government warships in Kagoshima harbor also joined the fight, adding firepower to the imperial forces. Despite a letter from Yamagata on September 1 urging surrender, Sego refused. On September 24, 1877, Yamagata ordered a full frontal assault. By 6 a.m., only 40 rebels remained, and Sego was severely wounded. Legend suggests that one of his followers, Beppu Shinsuke, assisted Sego in committing seppuku, a form of ritual suicide, before capture, but there is conflicting evidence about this. Some accounts suggest that Sego died from his gunshot wound, and Beppu removed his head to preserve his dignity. After Sego's death, Beppu and the remaining ex-samurai drew their swords and charged downhill toward the imperial positions, meeting their deaths. With these events, the Satsuma Rebellion came to a close. The financial cost of suppressing the Satsuma Rebellion was substantial, totaling 420 million yen, which forced Japan off the gold standard and led to the issuance of paper currency. Economic repercussions included the passing of the Act of February 4, 1877, which reduced the land tax from 3% to 2.5%. The rebellion decreased Japan's yearly expenditure from £13,700,000 to £10,250,000 but raised the national debt from £28 million to £70 million. To cover these costs, the Meiji government had to sell off state-owned enterprises, including factories and mines, to politically connected merchants and former officials at low prices. This led to the formation of large industrial firms known as zaibatsu. Furthermore, the rebellion marked the effective end of the samurai class, as the new Imperial Japanese Army, consisting of conscripts from the heimin class, had proven its effectiveness in battle. The defeat of the samurai highlighted the power of modern artillery and rifles, rendering traditional banzai charges ineffective. On February 22, 1889, Emperor Meiji posthumously pardoned Sego. Statues in Ueno Park, Tokyo, and near the ruins of Kagoshima Castle commemorate his memory, and he is regarded as a tragic hero, exemplifying Bushido, the samurai code, and Yamato Damashii, the Japanese spirit. Thank you for watching.